Hi, I'm Colleen Watson of Watson Designs, and today we're going to talk about doing some fall prep and cleanup around your yard and also planting some spring bulbs. I have some tulips here that will give you some great spring color. And to plant a tulip, a lot of times they'll have directions on the back of the package. In this case, it says to have the hole 6 inches deep. Now when you plant a tulip, be sure that the pointy side is facing up. That is where it's going to be sprouting, and will give you some nice healthy color. So plant them in groups of 3 or 5 will be great, rather than planting them in single file, and adding some really good soil into the existing hole and also covering it with some good soil. Here in Winnipeg we have very high clay soil. It's very high in nutrients, but it compacts very, very easily and prevents a lot of roots from spreading in some more delicate plants, and even the tulips from sprouting in the spring. So be sure to add soil. You can even add some leaves that you have in the yard, especially if you've taken them through the lawnmower and really shredded them. They can be mixed in with the soil and added into the hole. It will add nutrients as they break down. Also, this time of year, it's great to be removing weeds and doing some other general cleanup. There's a couple of issues in the front area of this property that should be addressed and can be addressed now when you're doing your landscape plan. I have an issue with the sidewalk being so narrow, and very close to the house we've got some drainage problems here. We've got cracked foundation, and we've got this unsightly downspout going across the sidewalk. What can happen is we can bury this downspout and have it go underneath the sidewalk. Widen it, clean this up, and hide some of the foundation and really take advantage of the lines and color in this house. Fall is a great time of year to also be top dressing your lawn. If you have any bare patches, now's a great time to just add some good quality topsoil to those areas and overseed them with some grass seed and work it in. All-purpose grass seed generally comes with both annual and perennial grass seeds. Annual grass only lives for 1 year. Perennial grass seeds live longer, like in your Kentucky bluegrasses. So if the annual seeds don't survive the winter, that's fine. The perennial ones will take over. Now the reason why they put annual grass seed into an all-purpose mix is they germinate faster than a perennial grass. And in the times of drier, hotter parts of the season when you're going to be seeding, those annual grasses will take over faster, keep the moisture in, and shade the soil for the perennial grasses that take longer to germinate to come in. So work it into the soil with a rake or your hands if you've got a small area, and use a lot of seed, at least twice as much as what the package calls for. This is called overseeding the area, and you should have a great lawn in the spring. Fall is the time to clean up your perennials, and also to consider what your yard looks like this time of year. If there was some fall blooming perennials here, this area would look fantastic. So from the daylilies, you've got old stalks that we need to clean up. Using a good quality garden shears and keeping them clean and free from dirt, and keeping them oiled with a light oil on them will keep them sharp and rust free, and well worth the investment to get high quality garden shears. So clean out what you can. A lot of them, because we've had some heavy frosts, are easy to pull out. These can be cut down completely if you're wanting to. Sometimes, though, certain perennials have a great winter interest, especially grasses. The Karl Forster grasses that have really hit the market big in the last few years are a 4-foot grass that don't spread and are fantastic for our zones. and look great even in a light snowfall. So consider what perennials will look good for the early part of the winter and clean up anything that does look messy. Another issue that homeowners have is water in the basement. Now when you've got an existing flower bed that's near the house, chances are that the soil has compacted and it has sunk into the foundation, leaving a slope towards the house rather than having the drainage go away. Another really important thing to do is to make sure that all of your downspouts are pointing well away from the foundation so the water can be carried away from the house. If your slope is going towards the house, fall is a great time to be changing that and getting your home ready for spring. So another preventative measure that the homeowner has done to ensure that the water isn't in the basement is to create the slope away from the house. They've piled up the soil here, and it looks a little extreme right now, but this soil will pack down. Another thing you can be doing too is cutting the bed here and creating an edge between the lawn and the perennial bed. And it's just simply cutting it down with the shovel, taking an edge and moving the soil away from the grass. This will prevent the grass from coming into your perennial bed. Some things to consider when you're planning your landscape is to have a look at the existing features. Right now this foundation of the house is looking a bit sad. It's late fall, so things are a little messy. Some of the things that we want to conceal is the air conditioner. It's unsightly and it's loud. So we could be planting some higher shrubs or perennials that have really dense, thick foliage in them. And we can add color to this with the light color of this foundation. Some purples and reds will really look sharp against this. Another thing to consider is some windows. We've got a basement window here with a window well, and we also have a window here. Now consider planting the right plant in the right space. Selecting plants that come below this window at their maximum height is certainly something you want to consider. But for this area, because it's lower, we don't want to be concealing this window and preventing the light from coming into this basement. So we'll want to be selecting some lower perennials and removing the existing ones that are here. Another fall project is moving and dividing perennials that bloom early in the spring or early in the summer. Those won't interfere with their blooming time if you do it now, late in the fall. So when you're moving perennials, be sure to dig out as much of the root ball as that you can. Using either a knife or a very sharp shovel, you can put the shovel in the center and cut through it. Now we're going to be a little more selective on trying to get some of these separated, and at times the soil can be very light and you could do it by hand. If you don't have a compost bin, another thing you can do is just simply pile the leaves in an area of your garden and it will compost in the spring. Now you can add leaves, the last of your grass clippings, any other perennials, fall cleanup, just pile them in the corner of your yard. What you don't want to add into this compost pile is any leaves that have disease or any leaves that have had insect problems. Put those in the garbage instead of putting them in your compost pile. Starting a compost pile now will give you great nutrients to add into your soil into the spring.